Hi, my name is Brenda Salzano. I have a surface design business that I run. It's my own designs, and today I wanted to give a video on making things with air dry clay. I have a background in doing a lot of ceramics with kiln fired clays, which is what I was mostly used to doing, but since I moved into this apartment, I now am doing more with the regular clays like sculpting, which is oven fired, and then also these air dried ones. And the first one I tried was the dark colored one, this one here, and it is real pliable. It dried really well. I just don't like that the dark color for what I was doing. I'm making pins right now, and the dark color is harder for the colors that you may want to put on there. But I'm going to give it a chance, and we'll see how I like this other one. I haven't tried this other one. This is the one I was going to use today, but this is the one I'm trying today. It says that it's creative paper clay, and it's natural white, and it's also the air dry. And this is it turns really white after it's dry. And what I'm working with today also is I've got little cutouts. These are little animal cutouts, but you can use any kind of cookie cutters that you may have, or you can even make your own little designs with a lightweight tin that you can make into your designs. However, I find that most of the basic shapes can be turned into something else. Like this one is like a tulip. But with the tulip, you can also make it into like a fox or a cat. You could also, it looks to me like I could even use this for a bird. And I'll kind of demonstrate that as I go along. I'll just make a couple things right now and cover that. You're going to take a little bunch of your clay out of the bag. Make sure you always keep this sealed in another Ziploc bag, or you can even take a moist piece of paper towel if you want to just keep it right next to you and maybe use it in a few minutes, but you don't want it drying out. And you want to make sure they call it kneading or conditioning the clay, and it kind of makes all the molecules move together, and then they can better be able to shape things. This white clay is super easy. I mean, it's just really moist right out of the bag. The gray was a little bit harder to work with, but it was really good too. I was used to using clays with what they call grog in it, which is kind of a granular thing for kiln fired, but this doesn't need that. So you just want to knead a little bit, and then I want to start flattening it out so that I can cut out some shapes. And what I do is start just working it slowly. And what you'll notice that it's starting to crack right on the edges. You just want to smooth those as you keep spreading it out, and don't let it get big cracks in there. I mean, it's probably not that big a deal, but I kind of like to keep everything all nice together and not even start those cracks. You also have water that you can add little tiny bits to smooth parts. I have different tools that I'm going to be using. Here's a little mini rolling pin. My favorite tools are these, but if you have a drawer full of forks and knives and stuff in your kitchen, you can use that if you don't have these special carving tools. But these are really nice if you really like getting into it. This one is really important. I have two of these with each end is different. Like this is a very, very small dot, and here is one with the bigger dots. They get bigger as they go along. I also have this little tool, which is nice for picking things up off of the counter, making lines. So I'm just using those basic tools this morning. And you don't want to push and try to get this all rolled out right away, all except just give it a little bit of time and flip it every now and then. And I don't know if you can see that in there, but you can see that it'll try to kind of crack and get wrinkly on the sides. You don't want to worry about that. You just kind of work that in. Just keep moving your fingers around, smoothing. Do a little roll. Put on some nice calm music, or maybe some fast music if you want it. But you do want to take your time and just go slowly. This is very calming to work with clay and to do these kind of things, as long as you're not in a hurry and you can just enjoy what you're doing, and it calms you down. It's also very good for people that have a lot of anxiety or nerve problems. Working with your hands like this is very, very good for your nerves. I've been doing art since I was since I was young. But probably professionally, as soon as I got out of high school, I started selling and doing art, all kinds of media. Started with acrylics and went to, like just ceramics. By ceramics, I mean already made objects that you just fire in a kiln and paint them up with different designs. You'll want to roll this out until it's not super thin. I can kind of show you here. You can, and that shrank a little bit, but that's about how wide I make mine. And like I said, these that I'm making are going to be pins. And I started out with, you know, the kind that it's like a safety pin, and then you glue it on the back. I don't like those as much, so I've ordered, and they're due in today. They call them a hat pin or a tack pin. And it has a round bottom that you glue on, and then it has the other end that pokes through fabric or something, and then it has a little end onto that. And that's what I like the best for these kind of things, because it's easier to get on and off. You're not as likely to break it off of there. I think that's probably good. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this one first. This is that tulip one. And what I do is, you want to, when you get these two, there's another important part. Is you'll see a little top lip, and then you see that this bottom is really sharp. So you use the bottom, you don't use that top lip. And you'll just cut out, you just press it clear down. And then I think I'm going to make this one here is a little dog. And this is the dog, only I added ears and a tail. I'm going to add my little dog. And this one is supposed to be a lion, but I think I'm going to make it into a horse. There's 3 of them. Just carefully pull away your clay after you've pressed down hard. And then we'll want to go ahead and mush that all back up, because the thinner it is, the more quickly it's going to dry out. And we want some of this to use for other parts on this. So I'm going to wet a napkin. Just really dampen it a little bit. I'm going to leave this rolled up in that while I work on this. I just wanted to show you what the next step on this is. This is going to be my little horse. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull out his nose a little bit. I'm going to give him a definite ear. This part that looks like the lion's mane is going to be the horse's mane. And then I'm going to grab a little piece this clay and roll that out for a tail for the horse. I'm just going to use my finger. bit of water. I'm going to put it right back here, his little tail. Use little tools. You can make little ridges to attach things. This clay's so moist that I don't think I'm going to need that, but I'm also defining the ear. It's got this flowing mane. I'll show you up close here in a second. Of course, the little tail. That's it so far. You can kind of see. Well, now it's turning into a horse. I think I'll give it even more of a nose here. There, that looks better. And I'll put in more details later. But if you can just get your basics down of your design. I'm going to use my little tiny, this is why this is so handy, these little, I call them dot ends. Put an eye, and even a nostril on one side there. That's the horse. And the last thing, before I set him down for a little bit, it's just a little water on my finger, and I go around, and anything that's kind of sticking up or rough looking, I can kind of get that smoothed out now. The back, you don't have to worry about anything. You just want to make sure that it's smooth. And you don't want any little lines, like there's a little line where I attached the tail there. You want to make sure that all blends together so that it'll hold good. Since this is the back side of the pin, you don't really have to have any details back here. This is where we're going to glue that little pin later, but I still like it nice and smooth. And that's ready to put down and let dry. And I'm using a ceramic tile. You know, a lot of times you can go to the flooring companies and they'll have broken ones in a little pile that they'll let people pick through, especially artists. They'll tell them you're artists and that you need some tiles, and they'll give you these so you could just use them for all of your crafting needs, especially when you're working with little clay things. This is my tulip. That is not going to be a tulip. This is going to be a fox. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off that little piece there. When you're cutting through this, you want to make sure you have something really sharp, and you press clear down and go really smooth so you don't make any cracks or jags. But if you do make a few, don't worry about it. You can just dip your fingers in a little water, smooth that out. So that he doesn't have that little top now. When I was a single mother living in Alaska, I used to supplement the income and be able to stay at home by teaching art classes to kids. And now with the internet and everything, you can just do things at home and help pass on the knowledge that you have. I've been doing this art for, well, since the 1970s. Okay, now we can see the shape And a simple little, you can look it up on Pinterest or anywhere to get what you want for a design, but there's one that's real simple for a fox. And I like to take just a little tiny bit of clay, and I'm going to make a little nose for him. I'm just going to make that round at first. I'm going to put it right down the center at the bottom. See that? Where I placed it right at the bottom. And then you just make the lines of where he's going to be kind of that orange box color and where will be white. Show you, and it'll define his nose also. Just go slowly when you're drawing on there. That's the main defining part. And then I'm going to use this end. You can see this, my tool. It's got a little curve to it. Use the tip of that. I'm going to press down in each ear. And that makes where the inside of the ear is. And then for the eyes again, my little pointy tools. And you've got the making of a little cute fox. I'm going to define his nose just a little more. And again, I'm using this tool that curves. And I can kind of curve down, because the fox has most animals have this, it's not a complete round. And I'm also going to, where the nostril is there. This will look, you'll be able to see this more when we paint them, but there, I've defined the nose just a little more. See, I have more of a point down there. And then I'm going to go up here and even put in some on the sides, which gives you the insinuation of fur. And that's your tulip turned into a fox face. And you can do the same for a cat face. Now we've got the dog. And he has no tail or anything yet. First, I'm going to go ahead and smooth him out. I'm going to define an ear, same that I used on the fox. I'm going to need a little bit more clay for the tail on this dog. I roll it between my fingers and then also use it down here. Of course, the tail will be thinner at the top. And it has kind of a thick spot, and then it's thin at the bottom. Like that. And then we just want to press it out. Again, I'm going to blend that in at the top. And on the back, so there's no lines of where it joined. You want to blend that together. And just do it really gently. On the back, you can see that I got rid of the line of joining completely all the way down. But on the front, I'm going to leave that as a defining of the tail, the front. thing you can see his ear. And again, I'll use a little dot for his eye, or her eye. And maybe a little defining here of the nose. I think I'll even give him a little mouth. And if your finger slips or something, you can always smooth it back out. And you don't have to put all these details in. I just like to do the details. Also going to push this ear forward a little bit, more like a Sheltie would look. There was just a little bit of a line there where my fingernail had marked it a little bit, so I used water to get that all cleaned up. And you can see how that looks. So we have a dog, we have a horse, smooth out a little bit more there than the horse, and we have another fox face. The ones that I did yesterday and let dry that night is a little giraffe. I have different fox faces. This just shows you one who's got his eyes like asleep. And here's one I decided to make. He's a Native American fox. He has a feather on his head and a little band on there. And then some of them I just gave different kind of expressions, and I'll do more of that when I paint. Here's my dog again, showing the ears, the tail. I also made a bear yesterday, and I gave him a little shirt and pants, and I brought his nose out because he didn't have a nose. But that's the beginnings, and so you want to make sure you let these set overnight, which I did on this set here. So my next video will show painting, how to paint them, and how to put the pin backs on them. I hope this will help you get started, and I hope that you take up some of this. It's a great thing for kids, families to do together. It's great for making little things if you want to sell at crafts fairs, or you could take and make these and sell on Etsy, or just do it for fun and to give to your family and friends. I hope you have a great week, and thanks for watching my little video.